Welcome back to Beyond 60 Unscripted. This is the show where we have honest conversations about what it really means to live fully in this season of life that's beyond 60. I'm Ruth Williams Brinkley, and I am your host. Today's episode is really a tender episode, and it's so very important. We're going to be talking about grief, and we're talking about it through a lens we don't often hear enough from. We're talking about men's grief and their experience. There are so many expectations placed on men to hold it together, to stay busy, to stay composed. But grief doesn't recognize gender. Grief doesn't recognize rules, and it does not care about appearances. If you're listening today and loss is close to you, take this at your own pace. And if you know someone who's grieving, this conversation may help you understand what support for that person could really look like. And now it's time for our Beyond 60 Buzz. So, this is a story from The Guardian, and it might not strike you as that important when I first talk about it, but listen up and you'll get it. So, the title is A Daily Ritual That Rewrites Retirement. So this story is about a woman by the name of Vicki Harden Woods. She worried about retirement and that it would cost her her identity. And, that's common with a lot of us. We knew who we were in our jobs, whatever they were. And now that we are retired from those jobs or moving forward from those jobs, we are kind of confused about the future. So what Vicki Harden Woods did was committed to baking one pie a day, and she gave the pies away. Now, you might say, what does that have to do with retirement? Well, let's take this in steps. First of all, reinvention is a plan and not a personality change. So Vicki calls out something many people feel post-career, and many of us may have felt. And it was that uneasy question of who am I without my title? Who am I without my office? Who am I without my assistant who is there to help me? And she answers that question with actions instead of overthinking it. The whole idea of baking a pie every day. So, why a project works? Because it's a daily practice. It gives you structure, it gives you momentum, and it gives you a reason to get out of the house. Taking those pies to people gave her a reason to get out of the house. And that's important, especially in the early months of retirement, when the days can blur together and you may not know what you want to do. You may be confused, and if you move too quickly, you may make an error and do something that you really don't want to do. The other importance of the baking of the pies was it was building a community. By giving the pies away, it forced connection, not waiting for the connection to come to her. She did an outreach for a connection. It's a great prompt for all of us. What's one small thing I could do today to make it easier for someone else and make it easier for me to interact with somebody else? So, creativity can also be a brain exercise as well as a spirit exercise. I don't know that I could bake pies, but I could do some other things. And you could do some other things if you don't bake pies. The surprise benefit is identity shifts from job to values. That's really important, that shift from job to values. Her takeaway in doing those pies is really powerful. She learned that her professional identity was not the core of who she is, but the core of who she is was her values. So, what do you want to be known for in this season? Your values, what are they and how important are they to you? That you live those values out in your retirement. And finally, when you take micro steps and not try to take a big step all at one time, one pie, one day, one person, it's a real simple model for reinvention, and it does not require a huge budget. It does not require reinvention. It does not require anything but a commitment that you keep. So think about it, and let's move from what were the big headlines to the human experience. That's why we have this time beyond 60 to do some of the things that we didn't have the time to do when we were in our big jobs. So, I am delighted and honored today to be joined by someone I deeply respect, Herman Bulls. Herman, thank you for being here with us today and for being willing to have this conversation. It means a lot to me and to our audience.
Ruth, it's a pleasure to be here. And when you call, I answer the phone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I do the same. Let me share a little bit about Herman, and then I'm going to have him introduce himself. But this is stuff he probably would not tell you about himself. But Herman is just a phenomenal leader, phenomenal executive. And just a little bit about his bio. Herman is vice chairman of the Americas at JLL and the founder of JLL's Public Institutions Division, where he spent more than 3 decades helping federal, state, and local governments, higher education institutions, and nonprofits develop real estate strategies that reduce costs and increase productivity. Before JLL, Herman served nearly 12 years of active duty in the United States Army, including assignments at the Pentagon and as an assistant professor of economics and finance at West Point. He later retired as a colonel in the U.S. Army Reserves. He's also an extraordinary board leader, serving as chairman of Fluence Energy and vice chairman of USAA, along with board service across major public, private, and nonprofit organizations. Herman earned his engineering degree from West Point and his MBA from Harvard. Herman has spent his life in leadership, and today he's joining us, though, in a different capacity, the kind that requires honesty and vulnerability from a personal standpoint. Not that he doesn't have that in his business, he absolutely does. But this is the heart. So, Herman, before we begin, I want to just say this. We don't often hear men talk openly about their grief, and I am so grateful that you're willing to share your perspective. So, Herman, if you are comfortable, can you share with me? I want to first hear about the love story between you and your wife, Iris, and then the grief journey that started in the earliest days and what that loss felt like to you.
Well, Ruth, first of all, again, thank you for having me on the program. It's a pleasure to be here. There's something about grief, but there's also something about love. And Iris, certainly, I keep a picture of her by my desk here on our wedding day. I'm showing you listeners now.
Aw,
And
yeah.
and it's a phenomenal story. In the Army, as you said before, and I was at Fort Dix, New Jersey. And I lived in the bachelor officers' quarters. And for your listeners who don't know, it's really like efficiency apartments where officers who are not married live. And one day I left for work and I knew that there was an individual that lived in the apartment across from me. And, I saw that they've moved out. The next day I came in and that apartment, the door was open. So it was directly across the hall from my apartment. So the door was open. So I kind of walked into the room and it's very, very small.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, maybe 25 by 25. And I walked in the bathroom, I looked and I turned around. And when I walked out of the bathroom, I turned around, Ruth, and there was the most beautiful woman sitting
Oh.
there. And with somewhat of a stern look on her face, she said, "What are you doing in my room?" And just she has this, I mean, it wasn't, I mean, she was serious, but it was still just such a lovely sight. And you have to think quickly on your feet in these situations, Ruth. So I said immediately, "I'm from Neighborhood Watch. I saw the door was open and I wanted to make sure the neighborhood was safe." And she said, "Get out of my room." Now, I learned later that another lady that lived next door was her sponsor. So in the military, we have, when you go to a new location, you'll have another officer that will be your sponsor, help you acclimate to the area, et cetera, et cetera. And so the sponsor had told her about me, saying, "I've got this very flirty guy that lives next door, but I'm going to get you an apartment right across from me, but you just watch out for him." And so I think she knew who I was, and she put that imprimatur of being stern on me. And she was dating someone at the time, and she had a job which required her to be in the field quite often. She was an XO for a training company, and as a result of that, she often had to work on weekends. My job,
Mhm.
I didn't have to work on weekends. So on one weekend, her boyfriend was coming to visit her. I mean, we were friends. We'd just say hello, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And he came. She said, "Hey, we were friends." She said, "Can you? I've got to work on Saturday. Would you mind doing some things with my boyfriend?" I said, "I'll be happy to." And he came. He was an athlete, and we played basketball. We went to eat, came back, and when his trip was over, she said, my boyfriend said he was so happy that that I lived across the hall from you because you were just such a gentleman and you really helped him out. Now I don't know what he's saying now, but at that point, he thought it was very nice. But I'll tell you, and Iris told me this, probably what happened. She got sick, something indigestion or something, and it was say 10:30, 11 at night, and I don't know if she may have knocked on my door. She says, "I'm not feeling well." So we weren't dating again. I took her to the hospital, and for whatever reason, it was a training base, so the recruits are getting hurt all the time, and hers wasn't the highest triage. And she said, "Oh, I know you've got this was Sunday night." She said, "I know you got to go to work tomorrow. You can go back. I can get a taxi back home." I said, "Are you kidding me? I'm not going to go. I'm going to stay here with you." And I stayed there with her, and 1:30 or 2, she got back home. And she told me later that staying there with her at that moment of her need was something that was very, very important to her. And one weekend, I was going to New York City to see a family friend, and I asked her if she wanted to ride up with me, and she said sure. So we went out for the weekend, and I think during that weekend, we kind of saw that we had something for one another, and it was. I don't know if I believe in love at first sight. However, there was definitely some chemistry that was there, and as you saw from that picture, she just has the most inviting smile that you could want. And there we were. So we're there, Ruth. And then this was in, say, January, end of January, February of 1979.
Uh-huh.
And in the beginning, so we did start dating. And then I had to leave to go to airborne school in Fort Benning, Georgia.
Okay.
And so I'm in airborne school, and she says, "Okay, I'll come down and see you." So she came down to see me, and I,
Okay,
I
now you
told,
all are still not dating at this point.
no, we're dating now.
Oh,
We're
you're
dating now.
dating now.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
dating now. This is like 4 weeks later. I mean, we're cutting the deal, Ruth. I got the number, and if I didn't have the number, I just go across the hall and knock on the door. So it was pretty convenient, that part of it. So she comes down to Fort Benning. I hurt my ankle, so I was delayed a week in the training. And she came down and said, came down to see me. I'll never forget. We went to a mall somewhere, and there was a food court, and we ate. And I looked up at her. I'm the guy. Two of my best friends from high school. I'm never gonna get married, right? I'm Mr. It. I'm not gonna get married. And and I just remember looking over at her, and I said, "I think I could see myself with you. I mean, with you for a long time." And she just looked at me and said, "Hmm. You think I take that line?" and and then so so she left, and then I had my graduation from airborne school. 2 weeks later, she came back down, and I had driven. So we drove back from Fort Benning to New Jersey. And on the way of doing that, we passed by Washington, D.C., and her parents lived in Oxonville, Maryland, right outside of Washington. And we
Hmm.
stopped by the house, and I got to meet her parents. And, everybody's just kind of looking at me, who is this guy? And
Yeah.
she said, "Well,
And
he's my
what happened to
neighbor."
the other guy, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. And so I met her parents then. So that would have been in probably April. And then what happened in June? So April through June, July, I was still there. And then I had an assignment where I went back to West Point, and I was in the admissions office. So I would be on the road for 2 weeks, back a week, but I would always fly into Newark for the weekend, go to Fort Dix to see her, then go back to West Point. And I got to tell you, Ruth, it was during that time that I asked her to marry me.
Oh,
And
now how long, Herman, from the time you met her to the time you asked her to marry you?
it was probably it was probably 6 months, 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah,
So this was love at first sight, really.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And we planned a wedding, had a beautiful wedding in August of 1980. We were married at West Point, and just a beautiful day. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh my goodness, I am such a romantic. So I love this kind of stuff. So let's fast forward. You got married, and you had three boys, three young men. And how long were you all married before? Tell me the
Yeah,
story about
yeah,
when Iris became ill, and then you had to sort of, go through that.
yeah. Well, and if I may, Ruth, I think there's some more to the story. So,
Okay,
in terms of us becoming together and
okay.
just
I would love
becoming
to hear that. I'm
great,
sure our
great
audience would love
partners.
to hear it.
So I finished my assignment at West Point, came back. We had about 6 or 9 months. We got married. Then we went to Korea, the two of us.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
And this was at the time and still a desolate type of assignment, but we were in
Yep.
Seoul, Korea. And we were there and we didn't come home for 24 months. Our
Oh
family
wow.
came to visit us. Her
Yep.
parents came, my mom came, but we spent that time traveling around. And to show you the romanticist Iris is, we had our favorite restaurant that we would go to called the Embassy Club. And one night, and I have this picture, it's just a beautiful picture. One night we went there, and this was back in the day, Ruth, when you went out, you dressed up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, your
Mm-hmm.
hat and
Yep.
tie. She had on a nice suit and very nice restaurant. And we're having dinner, and all of a sudden she says, "Here, I got something for you." And she gave me a package, and I opened it up, and it said, "Your first baby." And at first it didn't, I said, "Oh my gosh, you're pregnant." I'm going to start crying here. It was just so, so, so sweet. And
Yeah.
so we were in Korea, and this must have been
Mm-mm-mm.
probably February-ish of 81. And then we're on the way back. We were supposed to come back in February of the following year. However, due to her pregnancy, we came back early. And this was just one of the most beautiful things, Ruth. I had already had my next assignment that I
Mm-hmm.
was going to go back, do some Army schooling, and then go to Harvard to business school in order to go
Yep.
back to West Point to teach. And I had worked for the director of admissions in that 1 year assignment I told you I had earlier.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I sent him a holiday cards. And this is a note to your listeners: always stay in touch with people. Okay?
Yes.
It's so
Yes.
important to keep those connections alive.
It
And I sent
is.
a
It
holiday card. He
is.
said, "Hey, we're here in Korea." And they had met Iris. They loved Iris. And he wrote me back. This was before, I mean, fax machines were a big thing then.
Yeah.
And he wrote me back. He said, "Well, what is Iris going to do? Why are you in grad school?" I said, "Well, we think we can get her an assignment because I'd been accepted to Yale, Stanford, and Harvard. I
Uh-huh.
was sort of deciding which one to go to." I said, "She'll probably get an assignment in a recruiting command close by." He said, "I tell you what, have her send me her transcript." And the process generally for going to grad school is a long drawn out. You got to put
Yeah.
application in and everything. And based upon really her effervescent personality, he had met her at the wedding and other social events, and something happened and he had an opening and he selected her to go back to grad school. So we're in Korea. Iris is pregnant. She has found a doctor in Indianapolis where we were going, Fort Benjamin Harrison. And we thought we had about 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the baby was due. And one night we were getting ready to go to dinner. And she says, "I think my water broke." So we go to the hospital. She meets her doctor for the first time as the baby, Herman Jr., who, again, I'll talk about all the kids, by the way. He's phenomenal. He ended up going to West Point and he has three kids now. One of them, Kennedy, my first granddaughter, she and Iris celebrate the same birthday, which was March.
Oh, oh,
Okay, so we get there, we had the baby, then we both go to Boston. While I was at Harvard, she was at Tufts. Then after that, we go to West Point. While I was teaching, she basically was in the admissions office. Then after West Point, we moved here to the Pentagon, and I worked in the office of the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Financial Management. And as your listeners probably know, the military plays a very large role in the inaugural committee. So Iris was
yes.
assigned to the Bush Quell Inaugural Committee, and
Wow.
she did that. Then I got out of the military and started working for my current company, Jones Lang LaSalle. It was LaSalle Partners
Yep.
at the time. And Iris stayed in for a while. Then she got out and she decided to stay in government. So
Okay.
she stayed in government, and bless her heart, I had a pretty good career. She had a great career, did a great job starting out working family policy issues. Then in the Clinton administration, she was selected presidential appointee position to be the principal deputy secretary of the Army for Manpower and Reserve Affairs, which meant
Wow.
for this 2 million person organization, she was the person who ran it day to day. It
Wow.
was
What a remarkable
phenomenal,
woman.
phenomenal, and young. She was young at the time, 40 something years old, doing this. And then after the administration change, she actually stayed in government, and she was perfectly situated because the language, each department, Army, Navy, Air Force, handled their language policy different. And somebody was smart enough to say, hey, maybe we ought to coordinate how we do the language office. And basically, because of her political experience,
Mm-hmm.
her knowing the building, and she was still a reserve officer. She was the perfect person to pull all of this together. And she worked for about 2 years to help set up the Defense Language Office. And
Okay.
Ruth, her personality never had to be in charge. I mean, I think that's what
Mm-hmm.
made
Mm-hmm.
our relationship so great. I mean, I was
Yeah.
somewhat in the spotlight at times. She didn't need that. She
Mm-hmm.
wanted to support. And I don't mean for you women out there that she was subservient. Not at all. Let me tell you, sister girl, because if she wanted something done, she got it done.
I'm
But from
sure
a
she got it. Yes.
compatibility perspective, it was a match made in heaven because she had her own career doing fantastic
Yep.
things. And, later when she retired, and I'll get to her sickness in your question in a second.
No,
But
no, this is
yeah,
great.
yeah,
This
to
gives
show you,
context.
yeah, to show you how respected she was, the Pentagon, which they don't do very often, named a fellowship after her.
Oh, wow.
Okay, the Iris Burton Bulls Language Fellowship, and
Oh,
5 to 6 ROTC students are selected every year. They get to come to Washington, meet senior officials. My family serves on the selection panel. I open the conference up every year, telling
oh,
about the life of Iris, et cetera, et cetera. So, Ruth, and you asked me about the illness. Iris was probably the most physically fit person you have seen.
mhm.
Beautiful lady, worked out practically every day, at least 5 days a week. In addition to that, in terms of diet, she very seldom ate out at lunch at work. She would only do it if she had to for a meeting. Other than that, she would measure this much olive oil, this much, If
Yep,
we had a
yep.
rule in our family, you have to eat a leafy green vegetable every day. He
Mhm, mhm.
subscribed to the Stanford, Harvard, Penn, Johns Hopkins, and Mayo Clinic newsletters and read them they came out weekly. And she would read these things. I mean, it was her passion, health and fitness. And in our house, she would cook me a steak on Father's Day and on my birthday. Other than that, Ruth, you got a lot of fish and chicken in this
No
house.
red meat other days.
No red meat. When at 4th of July people come, I would be able to do hamburgers. She did all the cooking inside. I did all the grilling. We had, again, partnerships are so important.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so we're getting ready. Okay. I had represented my company at Davos. And the first time I went, Iris was so dedicated to her job. I told her she was just too dedicated. Sometimes you got to smell the roses. And the first time I went to Davos, she didn't go because she had a project. So
Yeah.
this time, this was 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago. And I'm going, Iris, I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this. I've got an opportunity to go to Davos again. And we would have been inside the security, nice apartment.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's a great experience and a great week. And I told her about it. So you got to do this. And I remember I walked downstairs and she said, Herman, I'll think about it. However, the doctor told me I had a blood clot in my leg and we've
Mm.
got to go, I just got to see if it's okay. I said, Iris, and typical man, I come to some conclusion. I said, Iris, you're working out too hard. You got to slow down. You're working out too hard. So I'm diagnosing it, of course, misdiagnosing, I might add.
Yeah.
And
We
her,
all do that. We all
yeah,
do that.
yeah. And in her, sweet manner, she listened to me, but she's going to do what needs to be done. So, like 2 days, 3 days later, the wife's telling her you got a blood clot, you can't get in a plane, et cetera, et cetera. So we decide, she said, okay, we had a plutomicist. She was going to see a specialist there
Yeah.
on blood.
Yeah.
And we went in, Ruth, and we had the appointment at one time. And Iris, in addition to her working out, she got her massages at least 2 a month. Okay. And she
Hey,
had a massage
I
session.
that those are essential.
Yeah. Yes, they are. And we were about, she says, look, I got to get to my massage appointment. This is taking too long. So we actually got up, walked out, and we're going to the elevator, and the technician came in. Miss Bulls, doctor, see you now. He said, okay. So we go in, see the doctor, and the doctor basically, we explain to him what it is. He looks at everything. He says, well, you're being first class. Just make sure you get up and walk around. It shouldn't be a problem. And he said, by the way, before you leave, though, I want to make sure I get some blood samples. So
Mhm.
he took like 10 vials of blood. So Iris goes off to her massage appointment. I was having lunch with a friend, and I get a call, and it's from the doctor's office. They said, we tried to contact your wife. We can't contact her. However, she needs to go to the nearest hospital immediately. And I'm like, well, what is it? So we'll just go to the hospital. And I tried to call her. I couldn't reach her. Then I called my friend I was having lunch with, say, hey, I can't have lunch. I got to go. So I went toward the area where she was having her massage, which happens to be next door to our family doctor. And she was
Mhm.
feeling great. And she said, well, look, doctor's office here. Let's just go in. And we went in and we told the doctor what happened and what the issue was around the blood clot, whatever.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
said, no, they didn't mean to come see your doctor. They meant go to the hospital. So we,
Wow.
you know, thinking she might have to stay over. So we came home. I just packed a little bag, like
Yeah.
toothbrush
Yeah.
or whatever. And then we went to the hospital, and the triage, we had to wait,
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
And then finally the doctor came to see her and she said, I've been having these abdominal pains and blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, let's go take a look at this. Let's go take some scans. So they went and took the scan, brought her back. And Ruth, I remember it like it was yesterday. He said, there's something going on and it's not good. And
Mm.
that was when that night, the diagnosis was made that she had a growth. We didn't know exactly what it is. So she was admitted to the hospital. I immediately called two of my sons where I was able to reach. The third one was in the military. He was out on a field exercise, so I couldn't reach him. I called her mom and her sister and her brother, and we were admitted to the hospital. And that night, I mean, it was great. The next morning, she was up fixing her hair. Her family came, her mom and sister came over. I had a board call because I was supposed to be at a board meeting. Obviously, I didn't go to the meeting, and I was
Mhm.
doing part of the call in the room, everything. And that day went great. And then the next night, um, she had a heart attack.
A heart attack?
Heart attack, yes. And so she was rushed from the women's portion of the hospital to the heart unit, and
Right.
went over to the
Right.
heart unit. And all this makes sense in retrospect. And then the doctor that had gotten the results of her blood tests, everything, he came in, he said, uh, she has pancreatic cancer.
Oh gosh.
And for your listeners who don't know, that is generally a very, very deadly disease.
Yeah. Yeah.
Usually, and unfortunately for her, we didn't even find out about it until it was stage 4. And there are markers that you get things, and she had had some intestinal issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it didn't show up in her physical that she had taken the previous
Mhm. Right.
April. Nothing showed up. And generally, when you're diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, you can look to, 3 to 6 months to live because it
Yeah. Yeah.
boom, it goes
It's
really,
hard to
really,
diagnose as
and it's
well.
very,
Yeah.
very hard to diagnose.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Iris and her, jovial personality. She has a doctor. She said, "Oh my gosh, that means I got to get chemo. I don't want to lose my hair." And I'll remember the doctor. Doctor said, "Well, we have a procedure." He had worked with a model who had gone through the chemo, and
Yeah.
we have a procedure now that we can actually do things that you don't lose your hair. And it's a
Yeah.
cold freeze Digny cap, it was called, that we use. And she said, "Okay." So we went. Then we thought we're just going to go through and get ready for this treatment. And then a day later, she had a stroke.
Oh my goodness. So a
And
heart attack, then a
heart
stroke.
attack, then a stroke. Okay. And this is 3 days after we found out about this. And what your listeners should understand about this disease, it tries to get to your main arteries, your lung, your heart, your brain, and cause things to,
Yeah.
discombobulate, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it was working its way through. And I tell you, she went through, they put her through the procedure, then they brought her into ICU. And by this time, all the kids are there, right? So my
Yeah.
eight are there, all there. And I'll never forget today. So I've got the cancer doctor saying, we got to get blood thinner to run
Right. Right.
because can't have these clogs. And then the internist is saying, you can't do that because she's going to bleed to death if you give her the blood thinner. So it's like sitting there, and they both looked at
Yeah.
me and said, "Hey, you got, what do you want to do?" And it reminded me
Yeah.
of Ranger School, which some of your
Yeah.
listeners may be
Yeah.
aware of. You're put in charge of a leadership position, and they say, "Ranger, what you going to do?" And,
Yeah.
I'm sitting there with these two professionals who have a difference of opinion, but are both giving you their best advice
Mhm.
based upon their experience.
Mhm.
And I'm more of a go-getter. And I said, we're going to do the thing. We're not going to sit back and wait. And I went
Okay.
over, and Iris had, she had, wires out of her head and everything, but she was sort of conscious. And I made that decision. And I went over her and I held her hand, Ruth, and I said, "Hey, here's the situation. And this is what I decided." And she squeezed my hand, Ruth, and she said, "Whatever you decide is the right thing to do." And that I'll never forget that moment as long as I live. And then all of a sudden, Ruth, we had what was almost like a miraculous recovery. We did that. She stayed in the ICU probably about 4 or 5 more days. Then she went to another part of the hospital where she was doing more work and getting stronger.
Mhm.
And then they
Mm.
said, "Well, you're ready for outpatient rehab." And just so happened at the hospital here to Nova, they had just opened a new
Mhm.
cancer center, and everything was in one place. And we said, "Okay, we'll do it here." And it was a beautiful facility, and we did that. And one night, Ruth, while we were in the ICU, and you're there. By the way, I stayed in the hospital for
Mhm.
2 stents, and I stayed in the hospital every night except 3. I sat
Mhm.
on that little couch there, and
Yeah.
you don't think about it. You do what you need to do.
Yeah.
However, my son Nathaniel, one night she was in ICU, and I wouldn't go home. And I tell your listeners in the future, I should have listened to people because the caretaker needs care as well.
Yes.
However, you're
Yes.
going through this pulling of you remembering your vows, and you're seeing this person you love and the mother of your kids. And God, if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, but it takes a little balancing. And I
Yes.
didn't do a very good job of that. And that's one of the lessons I learned that I would tell people. But emotionally, that's hard to do. So my son
Mhm.
says,
Mhm.
"You know what? We ought to go to Disney World for vacation." Because we had taken, I had 2 grandkids at the time, 3 now, but 2 of them had gone twice. And the third one, Kennedy, who was born on her birthday, hadn't gone. In the previous year, Iris had sent an email to everybody saying, "Hey, I got a great idea for vacation because she had this thing. We want to go on vacation.
Mhm.
We sponsored vacation. Kids just show up." That was her
Yeah.
thing. She said, "I
Yeah.
don't care. That's what we're going to do." And that's what we did. And she said, the previous maybe February, because we planned them a year ahead. She said, "I think we ought to do Disney." And people wrote back and said, she's going to be 2. She's really not going to remember. Why don't we wait to do that one? And Ruth, she wrote an email, a text at least. She said, "Kenny and the kids may not remember, but I will." And it was
Oh
like,
gosh.
just
Yes.
like, and I mean, this was 9, 10 months before any of this happened. And my son Nathaniel said, "Why don't we go to Disney?" So this is just when the COVID process had started. And
Okay.
and it's March, and I said, "You know what?" And the doctors, I didn't tell you when the doctors, the here and back and forth, whether it should be the blood thinner or not, they
Yeah.
told me
Yeah.
that realistically she had 30 to 60 days to live.
Oh boy.
Okay. And you get that diagnosis, right? Stroke,
Yeah.
heart attack, ICU. This lady made the most miraculous recovery you have ever seen.
Really?
Yes. So, Ruth, we got to the point that I often say that rules are guidelines. So, first of all, you had to be out of the rehabilitation center before you could have your first chemo treatment.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
some way, I was able to create a scenario where they gave her first chemo treatment the day before we got discharged.
Okay.
And this was during COVID. So we got a private plane. We, 2 of the kids came here. We go out to Dallas, get on the plane, up in the air, stop at Fort Benning, Georgia, where the grandkids at the time were. They get on the private plane. Then we go to Orlando. Nice van meets us at the tarmac. I had used all my connections at the last minute to get a villa at Disney. And your listeners don't know, you can get a personal guide at Disney where you don't stand in line. And for
Uh-huh.
those 4 days, 5 nights and 4 days, she was in hog heaven. And to me,
Oh.
at that point, money doesn't matter at this point. You
Yeah.
do what you need to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And we were able to all eat together. Nice big living room. We all had the bed, 4 bedrooms and the big TV.
Wow.
It was, and
Yeah.
when the people would come pick us up, you go in a back way and you end up at the front of the line. She had a fantastic time because at this point we'd given that 30 to 60 day. Ruth, we
Right.
got back
Right.
and 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, Iris and I were out playing golf.
Wow.
She had that much of a big recovery.
Yeah.
So just to get it going, Ruth, she had been telling me one more story, and then I'm going to let you ask another question. And this just shows how we lived. She had told me about 2.5 years earlier that she wanted a water fountain in the backyard, and I didn't conceive it, and I had no idea what she was talking about. And I gave her the Heisman for a year and a half. And finally, one day she was in the hospital, got out of the hospital, came back home, and it's COVID. I'm sitting right where I am now doing work, and the doorbell rang because she had a very low tolerance. So we had to make sure she didn't around people.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
said, "It's a man that's going to build my garden." And I will tell you what, she designed that garden, Ruth, and to this day it exists. They
Oh.
delivered 3 flats of rock the week before she died.
Oh
They
my
didn't
goodness.
start working on it after she died, but that garden is in that backyard. And I got to tell you, it is beautiful. It is beautiful.
I'll
She
bet it
designed it.
is.
And what I do now when during the appropriate weather, I come home from a trip, first thing I do is go out and that garden and in our home, the balcony of our bedroom, master bedroom suite, kind of looks over it. You can hear the water. It's just
Oh.
so tranquil. And she was a big tea drinker. And we
Yeah.
built this house and we put this balcony up on, and I imagine her now getting her evening tea, going out on our bedroom balcony. It's lit beautifully, and just listening to the waterfall and her joy. So, Ruth, that's our story. I mean, it's a beautiful story for me. It's heartbreaking. It takes time to get over grief. Grief is not a moment. Grief is a
Right.
process. I think I don't know how a woman feels about it. I can only say how I felt about it. And I basically say there's no timeline.
Right.
No turning
Right.
point. And one point I had, let me tell you one point I had that was so important. The day after she passed, I stayed in my bedroom, window shades down. It was summertime. I didn't have a shirt on top. And my little daughter-in-law, granddaughter, who's probably 2.5, 3, she knocks on the door. She says, "Gee, Dad, when are you going to come down?" I mean, I don't know if she understood death or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I looked up and she said, "Who? Why are you in bed naked?" And I sit there and I just, because I'm going through, my wife had
I
just died,
know.
right? I'm going through it. But I'm saying the innocence and purity of this young
Yes.
lady. And Ruth, I'm going to tell you what. I got my butt up. I hadn't shaved, and I don't look very well now, but I know I didn't look good then. Okay,
You look great,
crying every
Herman.
day.
You really do.
Okay, and then I go look in the mirror, and Ruth, this is what happened. This is so important for everybody to understand. Life is not about absolutes. Life is about relativity. I
Yeah.
looked in the mirror, Ruth, and I thought of my mother. I'm the youngest of 7 kids. My father was killed in a farm accident when my
Oh,
mom was 4 months pregnant with me.
oh my goodness.
She hadn't finished college. My dad was a janitor and a farmer, so there was no money. She was in another part of the county picking cotton. And think of her when she got the news that her husband is dead. She has 6 kids. She's pregnant. Probably no money in the bank, maybe $50. Okay. And I'm sitting here in this beautiful home, resources with a support system of my kids around me. And I think I'm having a bad day.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
she, over the years, went back, got her GED, working 4 jobs at the same time: a cook, a domestic house cleaner, a collecting insurance for Atlanta Life Insurance Company, and she fixed hair on the side at times. And she was doing all those things, driving 70 miles round trip 2 to 3 days a week to go get her LPN degree,
Yeah.
which she got, which propelled us into a middle class
Yeah.
existence.
Yeah.
Now, she had a bad day.
Yeah.
I had a terrible day, but relatively speaking to what my mom went through, get your butt up and go live the life.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's a remarkable story. So what happens after that, Herman? How did you go through funerals and so forth. How did you have to confront your own grief at some point?
I definitely did. And what I did, I went to some grief training with the funeral home, and they have, people that lose
Yeah.
loved ones in that period of time. And there were 3 or 4 sessions. I did that, and it helped some. And then I actually went out and, got a counselor.
Okay.
And, I'm an army guy. I'm big and tough. And the counselor, I went for the first session. I probably didn't give it the time it needed. In the first session, and all the questions she was asking me, it was all of the things that I had done as a junior officer counseling my soldiers. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't, this isn't happening to me, whatever. And I stopped going. However, probably about a year and a half ago, I got
Uh-huh.
back in touch and I really seriously took counseling up and
Okay.
went in for counseling. And I tell men, women, whomever, go out there, be honest with your counselors,
Yeah.
talk to them, and have somebody that you can listen to. I had my kids, you have everything, but you just, certain things you're just not going to share with everybody. And having that
Yeah.
one place
Yeah.
where you can share everything and feel safe about it has been fantastic. And now I won't say I'm on top of the world, but business is going great. 2 more grandkids. And one of the things you had in your pre-thing, I did start dating. And one of the things, let me tell you, talk about the love story. And this is important for me. I
Yeah.
just did a couple things. She told me, she said, hey, because she knew she was going to die.
Yeah.
And living with someone you love that you know is going to die, they know they're going to die. You talk, we would have such great talks.
Yeah.
And one of the
Yeah.
things, the reason we did this thing with the kids and paying for their vacations, she was like, Herman, she did this before she was sick. Herman, I don't want any more stuff. I
Yeah.
want memories. I want memories. And we
Yeah.
had some great memories and we make those memories. So we just so she said, and this is very personal now. She said, you're a young man, you need to live your life. You can make someone happy, and I want you to be happy. So she tells me
Oh,
that. Let me tell you how strategic she was. She made the same comment in front of two people that she knew they were listening, but they weren't really in the conversation. She did
uh-huh.
it with my oldest son, and she did it with her sister.
Ah,
And
so
this was
people
a
who could
woman.
vouch for her words after she was gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm certain that's the way she was thinking about
Yeah.
it. And it meant and means a lot. I mean, Ruth, maybe I could have done that, and I would like to think I would be that way. That's the type of person that lady was. And what we've done for her, for you listeners now, we've done two things. We endowed the diversity and inclusion conference at West Point,
Yeah.
made a major contribution, and it's named the Iris and Herman Bulls and Family Diversity and Inclusion Conference. Due to the
Okay.
geopolitical situation we're in now, it's been suspended
Yeah.
temporarily.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I want historians to look back on this and say, he said temporarily,
Yeah.
we shall
Yeah.
return. And for your listeners, and Ruth, I think the last time I saw you, we were at the African American Museum of National
Yeah.
History. And if
Yeah.
you go up on the third floor now, you will see the entrance to the military exhibit is dedicated to Iris Bulls.
I was there over the holiday. I saw that, and didn't mention it to you, but I did see it. I was up on that level. Yes, I was. What a remarkable. There were so many people there, you couldn't hardly get in to that particular section, but I saw that.
Yeah.
How remarkable, Herman. How remarkable.
So her legacy will continue to live through her kids. So Herman Jr. I told you about, great guy. Nathaniel, her heart, her middle child. Nathaniel's down in North Florida now. He's our confirmed bachelor, I think, but he's the best uncle you've ever seen. And then Jonathan, who also did the West Point thing, stayed in the Army. He got out, went to Duke, and he's now at Microsoft. So Herman and Jonathan both went to West Point, both went to Duke, and they're both working as account executives at Microsoft, and just the beautiful kids. And the latest granddaughter, who is 7 months old now,
Oh,
her name is Savannah Iris Bulls.
oh my goodness. What a remarkable story, Herman. I wish I could have met your wife. She was just a I say is because you've kept her memory alive, but she was just a remarkable woman. How are you feeling today? You said you were feeling pretty good. You said that, I think you said you won't say you're on top of the world, but you're feeling good.
I'm feeling
So,
good.
yeah.
So what I do, Iris and I talk every day. Uh, I'm a very spiritual person, and meaning that I believe in a higher being,
Yeah.
and we talk every day. I pray before every meal,
Yeah.
and she is generally in that. Uh, Great relationship with my kids, the grandkids. My name is G Dad. Her name was Granny. It's something easily that they can say. Just love seeing them. My professional career, I'm working as much as I want to,
Yeah.
so to
Yeah.
speak. I'm doing the corporate board work, which is interesting. I'm chair of a public company,
Yeah.
and it's just fantastic. I'm getting ready now. ELC, I've got to
Yeah.
so be over, getting ready to go for an ELC trip,
Yeah.
and I'm going
Yeah.
to head down to uh,
Houston, right? I think it's
yeah, that'll
Houston.
be in Houston. And then
Yeah.
from there, I have a board meeting, one of my boards I'm on, called public company boards. And then I'm going to go down to Cabo San Lucas with a friend for a
Ooh,
week and a half and lay back and eat and exercise and take in the sun.
that is wonderful, Herman. I mean, you're doing remarkably well. My last question then is what advice, I know grief is a personal journey and loss is a personal journey. But I won't even say advice. What would you say to other men what would you say to other men who are on this pathway? Um, and do you have anything that you would say to other men or to
Well,
anyone
yeah,
particularly?
men, maybe there's something specifically for men. But I think the first thing is make sure you have a support system and don't feel that you're alone. I think that's important.
Yeah.
You don't, my military training, I used to think, you got to be tough and you got to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
You don't. Let me tell you something. Cry when you have to or when you want to. I got to tell you, I don't think I will ever try to hold back tears again in my life. Okay.
Yeah.
Teach kids, oh, be a big boy, be a big girl, don't cry. Um, Talk to someone you trust and remember the combination. I've got my brother-in-law, Matt. I've got my childhood friend, Ricky Lewis, and my college friend, Reggie Bassett. I've got a couple other friends that from
Mm-hmm.
West Point,
Mm-hmm.
Tom Bostic and Darcy Anderson. So you've got all these people from different points in your life. Stay in touch with them. Let me tell you, stay active physically and mentally. I got a nice workout in this morning before this show. Iris, that's something that she was definitely in. We were both. And the healing process, it's not a straight line. It's uneven.
Yeah.
You're gonna have
Yeah.
those days when it is what it does. It's quiet. You got to have those moments. It takes time, and and don't be afraid. I want to say again, for men, don't think that you don't need support. You do need support.
And I heard you say also that you didn't say this, but you said it indirectly in your comments. Timing is everything because you said you did a little bit of grief counseling when Iris first left us, but then you went back. It was almost like 3.5 years later, three and a
Mhm.
half years later, and you were ready then. You didn't say that, but is that a fair
Yeah,
assessment? You
yeah,
were
that's
ready
fair.
then.
I was ready then, and just in terms of understanding how I wanted not only my family relationships but my personal relationships to exist. Because let me tell you what you have, Ruth. Okay, or what I have. I shouldn't say everyone. I had survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
Me and this lady. I don't think I would be. I'll tell you right now. I would not be where I am right now without Iris Bulls. I would not be where I am now. She was the person that when we didn't have anything, worked with me and we supported one another. I
Mm-hmm.
started a company while she was still working. We had her insurance and I took the
Mm-hmm.
risk and started this company and it
Mm-hmm.
worked.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the survivor guilt comes in that having success in so many different dimensions and knowing that she contributed to it and knowing that right now she would be with those grandkids somewhere doing something and we would be traveling. We had all of
Yeah.
these plans to travel and be with the kids and we have the resources to do it and there's every so often this guilt comes in is that the love of my life whom I wanted to share that with
Yes.
is not here with me to share. And that's where the survivor's guilt comes in.
Yeah. But she would be happy for you from everything you have told me. It's sad, but I just imagine that she would be happy for you and would tell you because she told you, you said this earlier. She told you to have a life, basically. You're a young man, and to not sort of fade away. Those are my words, not fade away into obscurity. Is that fair?
Oh,
She
that's
sort
fair.
of
The only
gave
thing
you,
when she those were her words. You're a young man, but Ruth, I just celebrated my 70th birthday, so I don't know about the young
well,
part. But
you're still young. I consider myself still young. So it's a and I'm in my 70s. It's it's just what you do. And you are healthy. Thank goodness you're healthy. So I am happy for you. And I am happy and I'm happy for myself because I went through a similar experience.
yes,
Uh 17 Oh, I know it's been
You and
long.
you and I spoke about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but it is timing. Everything is timing. And you have to grieve what I have learned and others I've talked to, it's a personal experience. And this has been your personal experience. And I really, really appreciate you sharing it with other men because women, as women, we talk to each other and we process things with each other, sometimes out loud, sometimes in the back room, but men are more reticent. And I just hope that there is someone listening who will get something from what you've said, Herman. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And now it's time for our silver lining. It's a small reflection that we hope you will carry with you throughout your week, day, month, whatever. So, the silver lining today is that grief is not proof you're broken. And that is important. You may feel broken, but grief cannot break you unless you allow it to. It is proof. Grief is proof that you were loved and loved dearly. And we heard that through everything that Herman told us today. And if you're in the thick of grief, here's the truth. I've been in the thick of grief, and everybody's grief journey is individual, as I've said many times before. If you're in the middle of grief, you don't have to worry about doing everything today or tomorrow. Take your time. All you have to do is figure out what is the next most important thing you have to do. One call, one walk, one meal, one honest moment, one pie, if you will. Healing is built quietly and it comes from the inside to the outside. And no one can tell you how to heal or how to grieve. It's individual. Herman, we thank you so much for sharing your heart, your soul, and your honesty and your wisdom and your willingness to bring this conversation out into the open, especially for men. I know that this is going to help someone feel less alone. To our listeners, I want to thank you for being here with us. I want to thank you for just being your presence. If this episode resonated, please share it with someone who might need it. And finally, I want to say be sure to follow Beyond 60 Unscripted on social media, subscribe wherever you listen, and if you have a moment, please leave us a review. We really want to know what you think, and we want to have other people be aware of our podcast. Next time, we're going to be talking about another exciting topic. You won't want to miss it. We're happy for you to join us today, and please keep joining us. Until then, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and remember that your best years are still ahead of you.